My name is Dan Rackham from GoChat Video Ministries, and it's lovely to just be able to talk to you today a little bit about video making and how to use video on your online or in your services. We're going to talk a little bit about creating and using video, and I thought we'd break this down into technical filming and talking on camera and post-production. So in terms of technical filming, this webinar is fairly basic in that you could go and buy a camera like that. This is a DSLR, digital DSLR, quite expensive. Or you could go and buy something like this. This is a Blackmagic pocket cinema camera. I don't know why it's called a pocket cinema camera, because it definitely wouldn't fit in my pocket. I borrowed this from a friend, and I have to give it back to him later. What I would recommend in terms of making video is actually people use their smartphone. Smartphones are incredibly good in terms of the quality of video that you can produce from them. And a number of films have actually been shot on mobiles as well. So I would recommend using a smartphone. If somebody in your congregation has a really good smartphone, then maybe borrow theirs. But you'd be surprised at the quality of the image you can get just using a smartphone. I'm assuming that this is something that you're trying to do on a budget and don't have a lot of funds to do. But with a mobile phone, things like lighting, sound, and depth, something in your frame, in your shot, really make a big difference. So in terms of lighting, mobile phones will be much worse at picking up low light situations. Sometimes you might have seen in mobile phone images or video, you might have seen some grain. And that grain is just because the camera sensor isn't as good as something like this at picking up low light. So it's important to make sure that you've got good light lighting you. I've currently got two lights here, which I hope just gives a situation where it is a little bit lighter for you watching. You could be in front of a window. You don't want to have you silhouetted. So you want the window here, and then camera here, and then you here. And that would give a nice soft light. If you're using a light inside, like a spotlight, it's going to be quite a harsh light. I'd recommend getting some tracing paper and just putting some tracing paper over the spotlight. And the effect that will have is just to soften the light. In terms of sound, we'll be well aware of this from having been in church buildings, and some of the church buildings are very echoey, aren't they? If you're filming, it's really important that you find somewhere that hasn't got lots of reverb. If you have to film somewhere that has a horrible echo, then why not take some blankets, maybe even a mattress, put an extra sofa in. I've got some of those things here, which just slightly help to reduce the echo. The best thing is find somewhere that hasn't got an echo. And then think a little bit about what's in your shot. So behind you, you can see that I've sort of put out a few items that are about 2 meters away. I've got a light as well. And that's just to give a little bit of depth to the shot. And that is so much nicer to look at as opposed to somebody who's just sort of stood right in front of a wall. So depth, sound, and light. Then let's chat just about keeping the video steady. I guess everybody's probably seen those videos on Facebook where somebody's moving around like this, and you just get a headache, don't you? You can't stand them. So do be careful when you're filming. Keep your hands steady. You might want to sort of lock your elbows into your body like this, holding the camera, and then just small movements would be ideal. You could purchase a gimbal. That's a device you can see up the top, which has 3 motors. And the way that works, very clever, but it will keep your mobile phone steady as you move around. And it takes out a lot of the shake. So that would give you a nice result. Or just a small tripod, and put the tripod on somewhere and you speak to the camera. Recording good audio is really important. You can probably hear the motorbike that's just gone past, but let's talk a little bit about that, because although I'm sort of saying to you, look, don't worry about buying a video camera necessarily, I would recommend you buying a microphone or using one of the church ones. Maybe your church has got a lapel mic, just like this. And with this sort of microphone, I'm able to take the clip off. I could use some gaffer tape and then gaffer tape that just underneath the fold of my shirt, run the wire inside, and nobody would know that I'm recording. But because the audio receiver is closer to my mouth, it's going to pick up much better audio. Whereas if the mobile phone is sort of a meter away or 2 meters away, the quality of the audio will just be that much worse. You'll notice a big difference. So I would highly recommend getting something like a lavalier lapel mic. This particular one is called Rode SmartLav Plus. And I think they retail for about 60 or 70 pounds, but you don't need to get one by the brand Rode. Rode are a particularly good brand, but you know, the key thing is the proximity to the person that's speaking. What I have also found useful, because this is only a 60 centimeter lead, I bought myself an extension lead, which can then mean that I can extend this lead to my camera, which means that I can then have my camera 5 meters away. I can have this extension cable trailing along the floor. And as long as I don't show the floor, then I still get a really nice shot of a larger space and I get really good audio. So that might be one idea. Lapel mic and an extension cable. Another thing that I've done in the past, again, fairly budget option, is this shotgun mic. This is again from Rode, and this is I think about 120, 130 pounds. Again, it's got a short cable, but if you connect it to an extension like this and gaffer tape's so useful, gaffer tape and a sort of a broom handle, then you can have your own amateur boom pole with the mic on. And if you've got two of you filming, one of you can be filming with the camera and the other one can then be holding the pole so that this microphone is roughly 1.5 feet away from the person's mouth. And as long as the microphone's up, you'll notice that it will be out of frame. The other person can just sort of give you the thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether you need to raise it or bring it down. So that's the shotgun mic, about 120. Or the other possibility would be this sort of external recorder. This is called a H1N, and it's fairly simple to use. It's by a company called Zoom. Not the same Zoom as who do this. So you would just plug your microphone into that. This is brilliant because you can put this in your back pocket. You can be wired up and moving around, and walking around while somebody is slowly following you just gives a really nice movement and a nice sort of, it's just more interesting visually. So I would recommend something like that as well. That's all in terms of capturing good audio, very important to do. Let's talk a little bit about how we sort of present and how we talk on camera. I'm sure for those of you who have ever read or preached in church, you'll resonate with the thought that the more that you do it, the more natural it becomes, the more intuitive, the more relaxed you get presenting. Well, it's the same with filming. I've now been filming for 4 or 5 years, and I'm starting to feel comfortable with it. So just give it a go, keep doing it lots and lots of times. The advantage is that you film yourself, you can then watch it and think, okay, definitely don't do that, or try this, or, you know, and show the video to other people and get their critical feedback. I have always felt awkward filming in public. When I started sort of making videos around Liverpool, I felt really awkward taking my camera out and filming myself, until I realized, you know, nobody really cares what I'm doing, and I'm never going to see these people again. And it, you know, just get on and film what I need to film out in public, and then I've got it. And that certainly helped me not feel so strange filming in public. And the other good thing with filming is, unlike a webinar or unlike a presentation that you have to do at school or college, you can chop and cut out bits that go wrong. So film you speaking to the camera for 20 minutes, and then you can chop it down to 10. It's really worth smiling. I'm sure that people will be aware that you can kind of tell when somebody is smiling on the phone. It lifts up their voice. Well, smiling on camera is exactly the same and improves your voice and improves how you come across. Also, this is an interesting point about lifting your energy. We're not used to sort of in one-to-one conversation using so much body language and being really, really over the top energetic. But in a video, when you're watching a video on YouTube, you don't say to yourself, oh, it's really strange that they move their hands around or that they're really animated or excited. Something about being on a video makes you less energetic. So try and combat that by sort of upping the energy levels that you're giving out as you speak to the camera, and be expressive with body language. Here is a few editing pieces of software that are all free, because some people have asked, well, what do I actually use to edit, and how do I edit? In terms of getting the footage off your camera, that's one of the downsides really of filming with a camera. With something like this digital SR, I can just take the SD card out and put it in my computer. So simple, really nice to do. What I found best when I'm filming with my camera is to use a program called WeTransfer. It's just a website, but I can film what I want to with my camera, and then I can log on to WeTransfer, upload the file, put my email address in, and then I can get it from my email address and download it on my computer. Although there are programs for editing stuff on a mobile phone, if you're editing on a computer, you've just got a little bit more flexibility. And I found that my computer is less likely to crash and just more likely to be able to cope with editing. So I have stuck with editing just really on a computer. And here is 3 programs that you could use: Filmora Go and Quick. They're towards the more basic end of the spectrum, and they're free and work on Windows and Mac. I'm not sure what to recommend for Linux users, but if there's anybody out there, feel free to write in the comments anything that you found helpful. And then DaVinci Resolve, which is actually the free software that comes with this camera. So it's a professional piece of software. You could use that. That's what I now use. I used to use Premiere Pro, and I was locked into the Adobe suite, paying a monthly subscription. I'm now using DaVinci, and it's just as good, but it's free. So those are some programs that I'd recommend using. I'm going to hand over to Mike, who's going to share a bit about customized videos, and then we'll have some time for questions and hearing what are the challenges that you're facing, and are there some things that we could help with. Mike, over to you.
Great. Well, thank you, Dan. I don't know about you, but when Dan starts talking about creating video, he's a very talented chap. And I sometimes think to myself, oh, if only I had that much talent. If we had that much talent inside every church, well, we probably wouldn't be having this webinar. But here we are, and we're all just working with the resources that God's given us. Dan and I actually both have always been in small churches, and this is part of what's brought us together, this idea that actually small churches don't always have the resources to create the things that we have in our imaginations and express the gospel as clearly as maybe we'd like to. So our vision really is to try and support you guys in your ministry, recognizing that what we're doing is a small part of what God's called you to. So just trying to take out the legwork, I suppose, of that. So here we are GoChatter, GoChattervideos.com, GoChatter customvideos.com. We've actually incorporated as GoChatter Media because we think that that's where we want to, that sort of expresses the breadth of what we want to be able to sort of serve you guys with. Excuse me while I just take a drink. So as you've just heard, creating video is a big job. There are some things that only you can do if you, as the vicar or the church leader, want to express something to your church. Those tips are going to come in really, really helpful. We've got a large catalogue of downloadable material that is great for expressing certain parts of the gospel, certain Christian messages. And what we realized is that those videos are great, but they don't quite, it's nice to be able to link closely to a church, and for a church to feel sort of almost represented in what they're doing video wise. And this is where the idea for GoChat customizable videos came from. The idea that we could create a tool that would allow you guys to make videos that speak directly to your community, but without all of the skills that go with that. And I think learning those skills is brilliant, but absolutely, it's not the top of any of most people's agenda in terms of their ministry and their calling. So, so us being able to hopefully provide some tools that will really help with that, that's our goal. So this is where GoChat customizable videos came from. Why use custom videos? Well, video is everywhere. It's now in our hand every time. Every time we take a call. In fact, I now don't speak to my parents on a call like this. I'm always on a video call. Social media platforms are filled with video, and there's a reason for that. That's because video is really engaging. Video tells a story, and video still stops people in their tracks. When you're scrolling through your social media feed, an engaging video comes up, particularly if it's from someone you stop and you watch that, and that's where these videos can be really, really useful. So some ways that we can use custom videos. Now, I've talked about social media. That's an obvious one, and that's where we sort of started with this vision. If we refer to it as the digital footfall, and your 20th century version of the poster with a white space in the bottom that you write in with a Sharpie. Of course, when we were all out and about, those posters worked really well, and you could put in the details of your event. But now, that footfall, particularly now with COVID, but increasingly people are engaging with their local events through social media first, before they see things, before they enter the building, to see that poster. In services is another place that people can use custom videos. We have a selection of introduction and sort of intro and outro videos that you can put at the start and end of certain services, things like nativity services, or to use them to engage or spice up your notices. That's been brilliant at our church. Everyone sort of sighs, don't they, when they get to the notices, to actually be able to say, I'm not going to tell you the notices, they're going to appear on a nice video. Is a lovely thing to be able to do. And as you guys are creating video yourselves, using these customizable videos to actually elevate those videos that you've created. We are, at our church, we're running a nativity trail, and normally that would be run by going around to different people's houses, and they would come out of their house and they would act a bit, and give you the bit about whether they're the shepherds or the wise men or Herod or, wherever they are on the nativity trail. Well, this year we're having to do it a bit differently, trying to keep the social distance. So we are putting a poster up at each of the properties and a window display with a QR code. And that brings up a video that is taken by a person at the house. So there doesn't need to be that interaction. Now, those videos were all filmed exactly like Dan said, all on a mobile phone, very low budget, very simply recorded. But we've used a customizable video to top and tail that, to put it at the start and the end. And that helps to tie the whole thing together, gives it an air of professionalism. And when people are coming into the church from outside, they just get that sense that, this is something that I'm in the right place for a start, and this is something that I can engage with. So as Dan's expressed, and as Dan has told you, making a video, people can spend their whole lives learning more and more and more about that. But we're looking for easy wins, quick wins, easy ways for you guys to create video. And so we've created this tool, and it really does make creating your own video really easy. Now, I know that some of you have used this tool already, but a great number of you haven't. So I'm going to take you through very quickly just to show you exactly how easy that is. So this is our website, our sister site, as we sometimes call it, which is GoChat Custom Videos. You may have come here from gochattervideos.com. We set this up for some technical reasons to just get ourselves off the ground. We're a very small team, so we're often just trying to work out the quickest and easiest way of getting things running. So GoChat Custom Videos became our home for these customizable videos. And that's the site that you can see in front of you. It's as easy as selecting your template, entering the text to create your video. You click the create button and export it, and then it's ready for you to download in a couple of minutes. We've got this whole selection of Christmas templates. If you mouse over them, you can see they start to play, and so you get a feel for how each one looks. And we've got this whole range of them. There's these nativity ones that have the introduction and outros for your services. And the list goes on. Here's some from last year. I'm going to have a look at this one that we call Christmas Presents, because it's a really jolly Christmas advert. I'm just going to play this. Here you go. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the music playing there. Here's one of the customizable sections. Elim ran this last year in Coventry for the Christmas special. And there's the details of that event. We think, okay, fantastic. That's a great template, and I'd love to make that my own. Well, this year we're going to do that for St. Stephen's. So it's simple as anything. If I can remember how to spell St. Stephen's. St. Stephen's Canley. And there you go. You can see that appears in the preview straight away. So you can see exactly how it's going to look on your video. Invites you to join us. In fact, invites you for our... let's pop that over 2 lines. There you go. As easy as that. We can invite people to our outdoor nativity this year. There you go. So you just type into these boxes on the left or the right, on the left, and then you see your preview appear straight away on the left there. So I'm just going to scale that to sit nicely in those boxes using this scaling feature at the bottom. Again, I'm going to pop in our church name, and we are on Charter Avenue, and it's going to be at 3 p.m. on the 24th of December. Put in a little hyphen in between there. Okay, so as simple as that, all of our previews are looking how we'd expect them to look. So I'm going to pop in my email address, click create a video, and there you can see that is starting to create the video there. So I'm going to pop this over to the side so we can keep an eye on that while I show you some other things from our catalogue. This was our best-selling template last year. It talks about how God is always with us. This is our best-selling template this year because, as you can see, Christmas might look a little bit different this year. That was the theme of this template. If you can spot, there's some COVID symbols there as making up the Christmas tree. And this one is available in landscape and square and vertical. So when people are watching on their mobile phone, it actually fills up the whole screen, which really helps to sort of capture people's attention. As you can see, that video has just created. I'll just quickly show you that if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see extra resources that are linked into this particular template. And here we've got some still images that can be used. Again, same simple tool, and these are a really nice way to spice up your notices for your church service. You can then download these in low resolution for free. These come, completely for free. If you want to download this in a resolution that will work for print media, then you can download that for £5, which is a great option if you're looking at sending out flyers or creating posters in your church. So there we go. So this video finished creating a couple of moments ago, and we'll just watch that through. So you can see there's a watermark here. We'll talk about that in a moment. There we go. So Stevens Canley invites you to join us for our outdoor nativity. There's all the details for you on that video. If we're happy with that, as I think I am, it's as simple as clicking the purchase button. We have no login, sort of no sign up. You don't need to go through a login procedure. It's just straight. It's all secured by Stripe. We never see your card details. They are between you and this company Stripe. So you just pop in your card details, submit the payment, and you'll be given a download link to download the version that has no watermark. And this particular template is just £5.50 for that. So you've seen exactly how easy it is to create a video. We're now, thanks to Hope, we're now going to give you one for free. So Polly, if you could pop the link into the chat. This is a video that's been funded by Hope, and they have this beautiful video. I'll let you watch it in your own time, but they have this beautiful video that takes you through the sort of Christmas narrative, and you can pop in your details completely for free. It's worth noting that you can make any of these videos for free. If they're a paid video, then you pay to remove the watermark. It's as simple as that. So you don't need to worry about making a mistake. You don't need to worry about, oh, did that come out quite right? Or do I have, am I allowed to make something paid yet? Sending it to your vicar and getting it signed off is absolutely fine. You can do that for free. If that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see what's going on. There's the link in the chat. So everybody pop on there. The website should handle a lot of you going on there at the same time. Let us know in the chat if there are any issues. Go ahead and make your own video, and we'll be here to answer your questions if you have any issues doing that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. Really helpful. Polly, I wonder if you'll share a little bit about our Facebook group.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Polly. I work with Dan and Mike at GoChat. And I just want to share a little bit about the Facebook group. So that's different from our main Facebook page. We've only just set this up, so you guys are the first ones being invited. And it's basically a place for you to post questions. You've got any technical struggles, if you've got some ideas about videos you'd like to create, and then we'll try and check that really regularly, so we can be there to support you and answer your questions and let you know of any other webinars coming up or things like that. I will drop the link to that in the chat. So if you'd like to join that, do open it up before this webinar ends, so you've got access to it. And then, we'll start putting stuff on there. But I think now we're going to have some time for Q&A. So if you do have questions, please, start dropping them in the chat. We'll wait for a few to build up, and then we'll see if we can answer them. But here's the link to the Facebook group.
Thank you, Polly. So do feel free to type in questions, and you might as well put them to everyone in the chat. What lights do you recommend? Yeah, good question. I've got here some Niwa CN216. This I would probably recommend this. It's only about 15 or 20 pounds. So completely the sort of cheap end of lights. But remember what I said about just putting like tracing paper over the top. Just make this, because it's LED, it'll be a very harsh, bright light. So yeah, that's called a Niwa CN216. And they just take normal batteries. Great. Do you put any other questions that people have got, or things that they'd like to discuss in the chat? Somebody said, what is that called? I'll write it down. It's called Niwa. I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly, but there you go, Niwa CN216. Sometimes it's difficult to work out what the licensing is for individual videos. Would it be possible to add this info to each video that can be created, used? We're not streaming, but use on Facebook. Yes. Fine. I'm assuming, Ian, you're talking about the videos that are on our site that we've got permission from content creators to put on GoChat videos. We've currently got just over, I think now it's just over 80 UK, mostly UK content creators who have given permission for their videos to be on the site. We actually had quite a few emails just coming up to sort of October, November time saying, oh, what am I allowed to use the videos for? Can I use them in online services, etc.? And we've actually created a page. Maybe, Polly, would you mind just dropping that page in to everybody? And it is a page that gives some license details on the feature videos, but also on the music lyric videos. So there is now some information about what can you use them for. I hope that's helpful. Is there any software for iPhones or iPads that will allow me to pause while recording and then continue? It's a good question. Does anybody know out there? Any thoughts from other people? And feel free to keep questions coming. Okay, apparently Simon says iMovie lets you pause and restart. When I was talking about video, when we're talking about video editing software, I didn't mention iMovie, and a few people have helpfully commented on that. If you're on a Mac, iMovie is completely free, and I really rate it. I made I've made my first 30 or 40 videos using iMovie. Do you use a teleprompter? And if so, which do you recommend for Android? Yeah, teleprompters are good. I used to work with Glenn Scrivener, and he uses a teleprompter. What he'll do is get an iPad, put an iPad on the teleprompter, and it's reflected up into the screen so you can see it. They're very good. You have to be careful, though, that you're not visibly moving your pupils around, because it can just be obvious when somebody's using a teleprompter. I've never used one, so I don't quite know what to recommend, but I do know that we bought one at Speak Life that was about £30, but we weren't really happy with the quality of it. So I think do have a hunt around and look at reviews. Well, maybe, Mike, this is a question for you. Do you have any, or can you make some countdown videos for online services?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've thought about as we've mentioned earlier, a very small team at the moment. There are some resources out there with countdown videos available. It's not something yet that we've been able to make, but we are really hoping to sort of broaden the catalogue in that way, and it's useful to know that you'd find that useful. I'll just have a quick look and see if I can find one of the websites that that I found previously that that have got some countdowns for you.
Great. But it's probably a good time to say that Mike and I have been working on GoChat for a while, but we've recently been joined by Polly, Jonathan, who's on this video as well, and a small sort of army of other folk, Dan, Theo, Isaac, Zach, and it's been a joy to work with them and sort of start to train some of those youngsters up in the designing and implementing of these templates. Mike's done a great job of that. Our hopes are that we can build a really good catalogue of videos for you guys. I've got a couple of other questions that have come through. Somebody struggling with DaVinci on their laptop. Yeah, do you have any recommendations for specifications? I struggle with that too. My Mac is currently 5 years old and really grinds to a halt. Editing and rendering stuff. What I've started to do these days, if I've got some 4K footage, I will take it through Handbrake. Handbrake is a free program you can download. I'll reduce it down to 1080, and Handbrake will also reduce the size of the file, which means that at least the files that I'm editing with are smaller in their size. Somebody, Pete Hodge, says he recommends it is worth paying, decent budget for a teleprompter. Fiona says, do you know anything about OpenShot Video Editor? Go on, Mike.
Yeah, so that's one that I used to use, goodness me, probably the best part of a decade ago. And the thing I really like about it is it's very simple and it's straightforward and it's designed to not be over complicated. It's got, at least had when I first used it, a very sort of bubblegum, very user-friendly interface. And so I would really recommend it actually if you're just getting started, if you're not quite sure where to go. DaVinci Resolve is, as Dan said, brilliant. It's an amazing piece of software, but the learning curve to get in can be fairly steep. So OpenShot's a good place to get started.
Thank you, Mike. Tom has asked, what tips do you have for using natural light? One of my main tips would be position yourself where you've got a lovely large window, so that you're benefiting from that natural light. Filming outside is lovely as well. And what you can do is you can just buy for about £10 a sort of circular disc which has a reflective material on it. And that will help because you'll be able to just bounce off some of the sun's light into the person's face. Often you'll notice that one side might be lighter and the other side darker. We'll use one of these sort of reflectors off to the correct side, and it will just slightly help to bring up the sun's in sort of equally. Damien has very, very helpfully said there are countdown videos on Worship House Media, but they're American spelling and American voices. Yeah, we're definitely all about English, British accents, not English accents, but British accents, and writing things anglicized. So yeah, we'll get onto the countdowns. We'll deliver some countdowns sometime, definitely. Somebody says they use Filmora. Got 5 licenses. It's quite easy to use, and it was easy to get the hang of. Great. Lovely. Well, guys, that's all the time we've got right now. But we do have some time. If anybody wants to jump into breakout groups with Polly, Mike, and myself, we said that we'd finish at 12:45. So everybody's free to go now. And thank you for hanging around with us. But let me pray, and then we can offer breakout groups if that's useful for people. Father, thank you for the ministries that all of these individuals are involved with. We pray that you'd help them as they reach out to their communities this Christmas, help them as they organise various things with all of the technical issues and difficulties. And we pray that their communities and their church families would be really blessed this Christmas, that this would be a Christmas that, although it's quieter, although we can't see so many people, it would be a Christmas that many thousands are pondering on who Jesus is and accepting him for the first time and growing to love him more and more. Amen. Well, it's been lovely spending time with you. As I said, we've got these 3 breakout groups. Polly will do one, Mike will do one, and I'll do one. So if you would like to hang around, I'll put you into a breakout group. But equally, I'm expecting that plenty of people probably have got to get back to work and things like that.
Just to flag up as well, that Hope video is completely free. You can go and give that a go. You know, at any time you can do that after the webinar as well.